Hello, welcome back to my channel and to another reaction video. This time we're checking out another Warhammer Fantasy lore video. This is Warriors of Chaos by Templing Institute.
There is something deeply wrong in the world. In every land, in every civilization, in the depths of every mortal soul, this wrongness is felt in one way or another. For a lucky few, it will never grow beyond a vague sense of unease, a lingering feeling that even in the warmth of a midday sun, a presence lies in the shadows. For others, it will be a constant fear, a voice in the back of their minds that screams and pleads to never tread into certain places and never focus on certain thoughts. They might not fully grasp why these warnings must be followed, only that something terrible awaits them should they fail. For some, though, the dark malign cancer eating away at the world and every mortal mind within it is plainly visible. They see it in the dirt of the earth, in the trees that grow from it, in the wood that burns in a hearth, in the dancing shapes cast by the fire, and in the eyes of all those gathered around it. A pure soul will instinctively recoil from this corruption, or seek the means to stamp it out, but few souls within the mortal races are truly pure. There will always be those in which the darkness takes root, festers, and prevails. These are the slaves of darkness, mortals dedicated to the worship of the ruinous powers, and the destruction of any who oppose them. Above any other titles they might once have had or now claim, they bear the supreme epithet, Warrior of Chaos. The study of the ruinous powers is a perilous and upsetting endeavor, and no mortal scholar can truly understand the fickle and ever-shifting hierarchy exhibited amongst their dark followers. Anyone corrupted by the dark gods might be said to be a warrior of chaos, regardless of if they ever pick up a weapon or not. Design. For by whatever means they might employ, every servant of darkness is dedicated to the hellish enslavement and ultimate extinction of mortal kind. By the time of the reign of Emperor Karl Franz, however, the term Warrior of Chaos is mostly reserved for the barbaric tribes of northern marauders that occupy the unforgiving borderlands between realities, surrounding the Chaos Wastes. Since the earliest migrations of humans into the Old World, many tribes have eked out short and brutal lives in the northern wastelands. The Tong, Norskans, Kurgan, and Hung represent the four major peoples of the northern wastes, each separated into a great many lesser tribes and clans. Though fundamentally the same as their southern kin, they have been corrupted for millennia by the radiant energy of chaos that spills outwards from the northern pole. The influence of the ruinous powers has led to widespread mutation and social stagnation amongst these tribes, leaving them as little more than primitive savages.
For them to,
Accordingly, they are largely
be healed
nomadic, unable to build
chaos.
any permanent settlements or great works beyond the occasional shrine. They instead cling to whatever livable patches of land might be found, before moving on, when the dark energies of chaos flow stronger and force them out. Clans might bestow on their chieftains titles such as Jarl or Tsar, but the Northmen have little concept of allegiance beyond the most primitive expressions of blood or kinship.
Really barbaric.
In lieu of having a sense of nationality, a strict hierarchy guided by the concept of strength dominates their limited social structures. Whatever the title, tribes are invariably led by the most powerful warrior or sorcerer.
That's an awesome artwork.
The remaining warriors form an exalted echelon within their society, with slaves and thralls forming the bottom rung, typically expended as cheap labor, consorts, or sacrifices. Though a great diaspora of peoples and cultures make up the Warriors of Chaos, they are universally bloodthirsty, ruthless, and cruel. War is their natural state, and they pursue it relentlessly. They battle mostly amongst themselves, but occasionally unite against the southern realms, whenever the power of chaos is ascendant. These latter gatherings are only possible through the will of a great champion, who has convinced the tribes to put aside their petty rivalries and disputes. To fight and perish within the armies of chaos, under the gaze of the gods, is the ultimate honor to the Northmen, and it is the ambition of every warrior, to attract the attention of the ruinous powers through deeds of slaughter and conquest. The worship of chaos is the strongest unifying force amongst the northern tribes, often supplanting every other consideration. Typically, this worship is directed towards the entire chaos pantheon rather than any single god, for in such harsh lands, it is hardly practical to reject a divine gift or favor, no matter the source. It is not unheard of, however, for certain tribes to devote themselves to a single deity, or even to a particularly powerful demigod or demon. Fallen chaos champions, revered ancestors, and other lesser spirits might also be venerated, but ultimately, it is the chaos gods to which the highest devotion is given.
Tentacles, or whatever those are.
Khorne, the blood god and lord of murder, is worshipped under 1,000 different names across the north. His followers are amongst the most numerous, for Khorne embodies courage, rage, strength, and hate, the most basic and brutal of sentient emotions. The precepts of Tzeentch, the Raven God, and the Changer of Ways, by contrast, can be difficult, if not impossible, for mortal minds to understand. The worship of Tzeentch is limited mainly to shamans, sorcerers, and other practitioners of the dark arts of magic. But change, hope, destiny, and lies, the domain of the Raven God, are at the heart of any ascension to greatness, and Tzeentch has many devotees, whether they recognize it or not. Nurgle, the Plague Lord, and god of disease, decay, destruction, death, and rebirth, is perhaps the least worshipped in the northern wastes. He comes to prominence amongst the tribes only during times of great sickness, but his gifts are amongst the most powerful and everlasting. Slaanesh, the Dark Prince, and god of pleasure, has likewise found few followers in the north, for the Northmen have little time for luxury and decadence, and rarely indulge themselves in their own desires. A great many other gods are worshipped in the north, and while some are merely aspects of the Great Four, others might be separate entities or other foul things let loose upon the ancient mortal world. The worship and favor of the gods is a vital and glorious part of the northern tribes. As these men cling so closely to the perimeter of the realm of chaos itself, to them, the ruinous powers are not abstract concepts, but undeniable entities that mold the clay of human flesh and human minds into whatever grotesque new shapes might please them. The dark gods of chaos demand total and complete devotion from their mortal followers, for the bloodshed and conflict unleashed in their names strengthens their influence over the mortal realms. In return, the ruinous powers offer their greatest champions dark blessings and signs of their favor. Though the risks are terrible, even the smallest chance of gaining the attention of the gods cannot be ignored. A reward from chaos, no matter how trivial, is the first step down a path that can lead to immortality, ultimate power, or ultimate damnation. The gifts of the ruinous powers take many forms, and usually reflect the attitudes of the god that granted them. A warrior may be imbued with terrible strength and fortitude, or their flesh might mutate, limbs changing into gaping mouths or writhing tentacles. A practitioner of the arts of magic might find their eyes opened, sometimes literally, to new possibilities, able to see the world in a way others cannot fathom. Those less fortunate might be disfigured in an instant, beset by a multitude of debilitating mutations. Even the greatest champions of the dark gods have been known to devolve into repulsive, gibbering creatures known as Chaos Spawn, though whether this represents the punishment or whimsy of the gods is beyond mortal understanding. Though repulsive, these former men are revered by the followers of chaos. For every Northman believes it is better to know the most vile existence at the behest of the gods than to have never drawn their notice.
That's one way to rationalize it, I guess.
Northmen, those who show the greatest promise of earning the favor of chaos will be gifted a suit of hell-forged armor by their respected chieftain. These are works of such quality, well beyond their own primitive smiths, instead crafted in the distant forges of Zarnagrund, or passed down the generations until their true origins fade into legend. Within the hierarchy of the Northmen's armies, Chaos armor is a clear sign of rank and status, though these warriors have only just begun their unholy quest. They hone their skills against the enemies of their tribe, or sometimes abandon their kin to gather with similarly clad warriors, forming new warbands that prowl the wastes, seeking battle wherever it might come. Should a warrior of Chaos excel in this arena, they will invariably feel the call to travel even further north and face the judgments of the gods themselves. They will undertake a dark pilgrimage, braving the unnamed horrors of the northern wastes before entering the realm of Chaos, a dimension of pure magic and sorcery. Infinitely worse things dwell here, and any aspiring champion who arrives will find themselves in a place of perpetual slaughter, a tangled landscape of insanity where the dark gods reign supreme. Most who attempt to master this battlefield will die in the attempt, though occasionally the Chaos gods will acknowledge the strength and spirit of a mortal and mark him as their own. These are the Chosen, and while the gifts bestowed upon them vary greatly, all carry with them the supernatural power and terrible grace of the dark gods, marking them as the true nobility of Chaos. The greatest mortal warriors of the dark powers are known as Chaos Lords, warriors and Chosen transformed into engines of mass destruction by the gifts of their patron god. They marshal to their war hosts not only the northern tribes, but regiments of lesser Chaos warriors, lured by the promise of greater glories. Yet, every follower of Chaos is ultimately on a selfish quest for greater power, and champions are constantly challenging their rivals, with the followers of the defeated incorporated into the army of the victor. In this way, the weakest Chaos warriors, Chosen and Lords, are routinely culled, and the greater host made stronger. The ultimate gift of the Chaos gods, however, is demonhood, elevating a mortal follower into a purely magical entity, and in the process granting them true immortality. This moment of apotheosis is sought by all those who walk the path of darkness, but only the most extraordinary among them will ever achieve it. These demon princes are beings of godlike power, but forever bound to the will of their patron god. A particularly successful champion of Chaos will find altogether stranger and more terrible things drawn to their presence. Mutated creatures, either those born from the natural world, or abominations fused into being within the realm of Chaos, are a common sight within Chaos armies. Most often, these consist of giants, warhounds, and sometimes even dragon ogres, one of the most ancient races, and among the first to be wholly enslaved by Chaos. Demonic engines too might be harnessed, sentient cannons that belch
Is
forth
there a lore
demonic
on
fire,
all these weird
war
creatures that
shrines,
exist in the
piled high with
Warhammer
corpses and other
universe?
offerings.
That would be awesome.
It is known that the ruinous powers originated from a great calamity, when something glorious and wonderful died atop the world, and unleashed the dark gods in its death throes. While the influence of Chaos certainly predates mankind, and is felt across every species, it cannot be denied that humanity is uniquely susceptible to its laws, the most eager to pursue the path of damnation. It was from the corrupted tribes of the northern wastes that the warriors of Chaos, as they are known today, were truly born, and when the dark gods march against the world, it is always these Northmen that form the foundation of their armies. The dark gods value their mortal followers above all others, for it is the ambitions and souls of free-willed creatures that the ruinous powers engorge themselves upon. It is for this reason that the ultimate champion of Chaos, one gifted with the blessings of each of the four gods, is always drawn from amongst the warriors of the northern wastes. These are the Ever-Chosen, and 12 times they have marshaled the armies of the Northmen marauders, and led them south to bring ruin and glory. 12 times they have been struck down by the mortal nations they sought to conquer, but now, the 13th Ever-Chosen has been crowned. A
Kinda like the 13th Black Crusade of Abaddon the Despoiler.
At his command are enough to
Well,
eclipse
there are a
even
lot
the
of
greatest
similarities.
his
I mean,
predecessors.
it's a Warhammer.
He is
Well,
equal parts Norscan warlord and
They
fallen
reuse
priest,
stuff.
a man of darkness and ruin. doom to his enemies, doom to every people and all the gods invested in them. For when Archaon, Lord of the End Times, rides unto the world will know that the last war has begun.
Ominous. Well, there we have it, folks. Warriors of Chaos. And yeah, honestly, there was some really fantastic artwork here. And yeah, this is a really fascinating subject. I mean, okay, the choice of music here, I found it interesting. I was expecting on more doom and gloom, but it was more sad than it was, sad than anything else. I mean, the way they explained that, okay, these barbarian tribes have been, for whatever reason, driven to the north, and they're so close to the North Pole where the chaos energy comes out, so they're been affected by it, pushed south by it, and whatnot. Makes you wonder: is it possible, to be cured from chaos? If it's possible to be consumed by it, surely the opposite is possible as well. And yeah, it makes sense. I mean, Warhammer 40k, it's the same creators, so they reuse a lot of stuff, a lot of similarities. But then I'm at, even though I do find the Warhammer 40k universe very fascinating, I prefer this kind of medieval setting. But yeah, so they did introduce the chaos gods. They only named the main ones. Makes you wonder what other gods there are. And yeah, the interesting part was this end time Keon, Acheron, whatever it was called. But yeah, he'll be the leader, the last war of doom and gloom. But yeah, the really interesting part was this. Let's see. They described how even the longer that you are influenced by chaos, the more likely you are into turn into these grotesque monstrosities. I don't think they say it was, is it a punishment or just, over time? It's beyond human understanding, but yeah, really gruesome. But yeah, I do love this design. This is nightmares, but fantastic. And yeah, as I did during the reaction, it would be very interesting to uh, dragon ogres. Yeah, is there a video that explains all the weird creatures that exist in the Warhammer universe? And yeah, of course, they had to mention that how humans and free will is the reason why humans are susceptible for chaos. I mean, all species feel it, but yeah, humans are the worst. But yeah, that's that's it for Warriors of Chaos. What do you guys think? Write your thoughts down below. Hope you enjoyed my reaction. Don't forget to like, subscribe if you want, and I will see you in another video.